introduce you first. What's your position with Artemis, and how did you get involved with the conglomerates?
So I'm Executive Director of Artemis Resources. My background is I'm a geologist, and I started working in the West Pilbara in about 2003 for a company that was focused on nickel and copper. And
that's the Pilbara Craton in the northwest.
So I've had quite a long association with the West Pilbara, and I was asked in about 2014 to come into Artemis Resources and look at trying to advance the West Pilbara assets.
Because you have many assets, it's not only gold. What kind of assets you have there?
So we've got a whole variety. We've got nickel copper at Radio Hill, which is also our processing facility. We are currently refurbishing. We've got VMS, copper and zinc down at Wandoo. We've got Carlo Castle, cobalt, copper and gold, which we're also progressing.
You have everything there.
We've got a box of chocolates. We've got the whole lot.
I've been around, I've seen a few projects, I've seen a few companies. I've never seen a company which has all these metals on such a short distance.
So everything sits within 30 kilometres of the Radio Hill processing plant.
Which is fully permitted, so you can start production when you want to.
So we're progressing at the moment, aiming by the end of this year we'll have that in production. We're looking at the moment on doing gold.
I thought it would be this summer, the start of production, so it's postponed a little?
We're aiming to get it into production as soon as we can, but at the moment it's always about regulatory approvals and permits, which is the main thing that always slows us down.
So end of the year, you say?
I think, well, I'm hoping by sort of like August that we would be.
Let's go back 1 year ago. Actually, we have a little anniversary. This was us two in October, I think, in Persian Reward.
Yes.
But there was us 2 days ago on the Dutch Canal. We had a wonderful evening. The nuggets there, you know, will be available. No, they won't be available, but you can have a look at them during the lunch. But I want to bring you back to this email. There was April 22, 22nd of April last year.
So, so lots happened in 12 months.
So what happened? I think this is an email you received by Quinton. Can you?
Yes, so I suppose even before this email, I know Mark Creasy as well, who's a shareholder of Novo, and Novo did a deal with Mark Creasy for some projects around 2014. I remember at the time Mark said, you know, look, I should meet Quinton, but our paths never crossed. And then, so just over a year ago, I got an email after we had made an announcement about, you know, a new style of mineralisation for the West Pilbara with conglomerates. And we've been doing quite a lot of work over late 2016, early 2017 with conglomerates, trying to educate the Australian market about this, you know, potentially wonderful and exciting gold project, but we were really going nowhere.
So this was just based on the rumours that you had a big discovery at Perdi's Reward that Quinton sent this email?
Correct. And from that point we started to discuss moving forward. We recognised that the Australian stock market was not interested in the style of mineralisation. They were a lot more interested in our Carlo Castle cobalt, copper and gold project that we were drilling and getting very exciting grades, very shallow deposit 30 kilometres from our plant. So the Australian market, because of, say, a low nugget, geostatistically, you know, simple ore body, we were getting runs on the board. So we made a decision that, you know, doing a joint venture with Novo was, and with the company that, you know, and Quinton had a lot more experience in the conglomerate story, had been, you know, had shareholding within Novo that was, you know, very, you know, they'd been following that story, they'd backed them, was a far better way to actually progress the project.
But were you surprised when 12 months ago Novo showed this interest? Were you aware that Purdy's reward was that rich in gold?
Probably, look, you know, I mean, it harks back to when I first went up in 2003 to the Pilbara. I'd go to the pub, and I'd be sitting in the pub having a beer, and then everybody'd be saying, well, we're going out metal detecting this weekend. You know, it's too windy to go boating. So, you know, one day they go boating, the next weekend they go metal detecting. And I'd be looking at the nuggets that they'd get when they came back, and you'd just be going, this is incredible. You know, they're getting thousands of dollars worth of gold, just some amateurs. But there were no gold mines in the whole West Pilbara region.
But I'm also an author of books, and I've been a journalist, and in this story, I'm always on the hunt for who's the guy who really discovered the gold-bearing conglomerates, because nuggets have been found in the Pilbara for centuries. But who was the first geologist who said, this is a gold-bearing conglomerate which contains the gold? Was it Quinton? Was it you? Was it Jonathan? Because who's this guy?
So that was a very interesting chance meeting in about September 2016 when I was doing some rehabilitation with a D10 bulldozer on a project we called Silica Hills. And he's looked down from the helicopter probably wondering who's this bloke with a D10 bulldozer pushing dirt around finding gold.
He was in a helicopter flying over.
He was in a helicopter and he lands and I'm thinking, who the heck is this? So, you know, this guy comes over smoking cigarettes, wearing thongs, talking very quickly, saying, you know, we're finding a lot of gold about 12 kilometres south at what we now call Purdy's Reward. So the next day, I decided to hop in the four-wheel drive and head down there.
When was this? 2016?
2016.
Late 2016.
Late, so around September, probably early October 2016. And so from there, Jonathan Campbell and another guy showed me all the way around, and I had a look. It was an Artemis tenement. We owned it, exploration licence. So wandered around, had a look, and then from there I spent about the next 2 months metal detecting. And it took me about 2 weeks of swinging a metal detector for me to sort of have an epiphany moment where I went, this is a conglomerate.
So, with your knowledge as a geologist, you concluded that the conglomerates were gold-bearing and were the source of the nuggets.
And that's right. Well, that I made the connection that at least that it was conglomerates with a lot of gold. How the gold got into the conglomerate was yet to work out.
It's a pity that we don't have Quinton on stage right now, but we'll ask him later. Because at what point did Quinton understood that these were gold-bearing conglomerates? He must have guessed it because he knew about gold-bearing conglomerates from the eastern Pilbara.
Yes, and I mean, I suppose it's also the fact, you know, like as Quinton said when first came to, you know, with Novo to Australia in 2010, that was what they were looking for, and primarily they've been looking in the East Pilbara. Did a deal, I think Novo did a deal with Mark Creasy in a couple of stages. Most recently was probably 2014, which was getting more into, say, the central Pilbara. But, you know, I suppose it's, people have spent a long time, like Mark Creasy has spent probably 30 years looking for conglomerate-hosted gold, and the argument being is that it was so close to Karratha.
Yeah, Mark Creasy is not a well-known name here, but he's a very rich, famous, well-known prospector, investor, businessman from Perth. He owned a lot of the ground originally. He sold it to Novo.
And I suppose, and that's one of the things too.
He's one of your friends, isn't he?
Yeah, no, I know Mark quite well. And it's, you know, as evidence of, like, you know, the lack of interest in the area was the ability of, you know, Artemis didn't have the financial position to acquire or peg more tenements.
We helped you a little.
Yes, but you know, like the large tenement package that Novo was able to acquire was effectively because the ground was vacant.
Would you have staked more ground when you would have had more money at that time?
I would have.
But you bought quite a bit in the last 18 months.
So that so our last acquisition before things really heated up was our Balmoral project, which is down. It's about about 100 kilometres south of Karratha.
But that's diamonds.
But it's also diamonds.
It was discovered by De Beers, wasn't it?
By De Beers, yes.
Yeah. So they even have diamonds. Well, before we dive into too many details, I want you to explain about these nuggets. These nuggets are recently found. You brought them to Amsterdam. They are larger in size. They can be compared to the watermelon seed type nuggets found at Commonwealth and Purdy's Reward. But what's particular about this gold?
Yeah, so we earlier this year, late last year, we purchased more tenements, a central tenement package that around our Radio Hill processing plant. So, and part of that was another area, which was actually the first area that before Purdy's that a lot of local prospectors had found. And it's another area too, like many of the areas I've been, where people find the same style of gold, is that, you look, and if you didn't know there was gold, you just keep driving. There's no reason. So this area, we've done some rehabilitation work, and the hearsay from local prospectors, which we always have the joke is the only time you know a prospector is telling the truth is when he says the other prospector is a liar. But so the words are that from this one spot that we rehabilitated, which is about 20 metres by 6 metres by about 1.5 metres vertical, we recovered about 2 kilos of gold.
But that's just a small garden, 20 metres by 6.
So the gold that we've recovered from there is, like we found is a lot larger than Purdy's. The crystal structure of the gold appears to be a lot larger as well. So it looks similar but quite different to Purdy's.
Can you tell us why Cicero is involved in this? Because I think that's a government organization, and they sent 5 of their scientists to Artemis to understand.
Yeah, so we've by dealing with Mark Creasy again, started talking. He's done a lot of funding work for CSIRO.
Who are they, CSIRO?
So it's CSIRO are a government organisation of scientists over a broad area. They don't just do geology; they do a lot of other different scientific research. So a government organisation, and we've enlisted them to assist Artemis in looking at a number of the projects that we have. So I've given them gold nuggets from a number of our projects, from 47 Patch, from Purdy's, we've got another project called Pipeline.
So this is a very independent, support, one could say, for the project.
So totally independent. And they've got the benefit of actually having looked at a lot of gold over the entire basin area. So we're able to look at similarities and try and really pull together geologically what's going on.
Does that help you to understand the system better?
I think it will, because it will assist us to work out how we explore for it more, what might be the marker horizons for exploration. If you look at a lot of Western Australia, and you can see it in Quinton's slides, you've got spinifex, which is a very prickly bush, and rich red soil, and a lot of it looks the same.
And do you agree with Quinton that this could be a basin-wide system? We find the same gold occurrences over hundreds of kilometers, which could be compared in size to the Witwatersrand Rand. What's your take? How is this big, or is it huge?
I mean, my personal view is that I believe it's a huge system. I find it, if you tell a story where you said to people that as a predictor, look below the Mount Roe basalt at a conglomerate at any point along the northern exposure or along the southern part of the basin, and you'll find flat gold, and you go there with the metal detector and find that gold. Yeah. the odds of that are amazing, and people
There
do
should
that.
be a source somewhere.
So, you know, that's the job of, say, an exploration company to really find.
And I always love this quote by another independent expert who recently said, why should we discuss about which model is correct when we have all the gold as evidence?
No, well, it's good. It's a good quote.
And actually, you brought the gold as evidence.
Yeah, a lot of that. And that really tells the story itself. And you know, exactly how the gold gets into the ground can become an academic argument, but how we mine it is the most important thing.